Managing your money when you get paid can be a bit tricky. Once that paycheck hits your account, it's common for your balance to quickly drop to zero. If you're new to this, I'm here to walk you through the important steps you should take right after payday. The first key step is setting your starting point. This is crucial. Sometimes people tend to avoid looking at information that might make them uneasy, like not checking their bank balance after a night out or ignoring their debt. This tendency is known as the ostrich effect, where people steer clear of financial realities. A significant portion of the population, around 1/3 in the UK and 64% in the US, lives paycheck to paycheck, often because they avoid facing these financial facts. The solution is simpler than it may appear. Begin by accurately figuring out your essential expenditures for the upcoming month, such as housing, groceries, transportation, insurance, and other necessary living costs. Determine the percentage of your total net income these expenses represent using your preferred calculation method. Make a list in the first column labeled Fundamentals with your net income at the top, and the number in the next cell becomes your crucial reference point for the next step. Moving on to step 5, the goal is to keep that number below 60% of your net income. Once again, this specific cell offers insights into your financial situation. If it goes beyond the recommended threshold, carefully review each expense and consider potential cutbacks. Maybe you can rent out a spare room in your 2-bedroom flat or explore more budget-friendly options. Evaluate if you truly need the full 50 gigabytes of data on your phone contract. Being aware of your reference point seamlessly leads you to step 2, the Quick Solution Fund. Financial proficiency comes down to 2 aspects: understanding the fundamental principles and basic math. The second aspect is often overlooked, the psychological dimension. Sometimes, even if the numbers favor one choice, the best decision might be the one that brings you more comfort. This concept holds significance for both this step and step 7. Imagine the psychological reassurance of knowing that if your car breaks down, your boiler fails, or you require urgent health care, it will all be covered. You won't have to plunge into debt to handle these emergencies. This is the advantage of a solution fund, the psychological comfort and peace of mind that come from having this fund stashed away, knowing you can access it. It's a quality that's challenging to quantify. The goal is to take the total of your 1-month living expenses calculated in step 1 and save it in an emergency fund. Place it where you can earn high interest and easily access it. When you reach 1 month of expenses, you can pause there. Building a bigger 3-month or 6-month emergency fund isn't necessary at this point. Instead, let's focus on the most mathematically sensible approach, leading us directly to step 3. What's better than buying something now and not having to pay for it months or years down the line? The answer is not overpaying for it. In the US, the average credit card debt per person is just over $5,700. Debt is used for everything from clothes to gifts to furniture. If you're not paying it off, you're overpaying. For instance, if you pay for an iPhone with a credit card that has a 22% interest rate, that $1,000 iPhone isn't costing you $1,000 anymore. After a year, it would have cost you $1,220. $220 more than what you should have paid. So, if you have high interest debt, instead of keeping it alongside and separately working on building a savings fund, cancel them out. Use your savings to pay off your debt. You might be wondering, how does that make sense? Everywhere you hear about saving, and I'm suggesting using your savings to pay off your debt. Well, debt usually costs more than savings earn. If you have $1,000 sitting in your savings account earning 5% a year, after 1 year, you would have made $1,050. Essentially, you're $170 worse off than if you had used the money to pay off your high-interest debt instead. The Snowball Method is a practical approach to managing your debts. It involves starting by paying off your smallest loan quickly and then using the money that was allocated for that payment to tackle the next smallest debt. The idea is that achieving the payoff of a loan boosts your motivation to continue the process. On the other hand, there are situations where the avalanche method makes more sense. This method prioritizes paying off the debt with the highest interest rate first. After clearing the highest interest debt, you redirect that money towards the account with the next highest interest rate, and so on until all debts are settled. The third step involves using your savings to address the debts in the order you've chosen. It's worth noting that depending on your savings amount and location, the interest earned through your savings may be subject to taxation. This makes the decision to use extra savings to continue the debt repayment process more justifiable than simply saving it. Moving on to step 4, it's worth noting that this step is often ranked lower on other personal finance platforms. The reason is straightforward. It involves redirecting some of your current disposable income towards a future pay increase. My perspective is that planning for your financial future becomes more meaningful once your present finances are in order. Therefore, I recommend focusing on employer-matched retirement contributions only after completing the previous steps. In many countries, opting into this plan requires contacting your HR department to enroll. There are 2 compelling reasons to take advantage of this opportunity. Firstly, it's essentially free money from your employer, usually matching your contributions up to a certain percentage of your net income. For instance, if you contribute 5% of your net income, your employer matches that 5%. You can continue this until you've received the full match, and there's no need to go beyond this point at this stage. The second reason to consider this option is that it reduces your taxable income for the current year, and this benefit cannot be backdated. So not only are you gaining extra funds from your employer, but you're also enjoying a tax advantage that contributes to your overall financial strategy. Regarding the employer matching contribution, it's crucial to recognize that you can't carry forward last year's allowance into this year. If you don't utilize the employer match this year, you forfeit it. Simultaneously, as you embark on this step, consider initiating savings equivalent to 3 to 6 months' worth of essential living costs, the same amount calculated in step 1. This endeavor serves to establish an emergency fund, providing a substantial safety net for those unforeseen and inevitable life shocks. An emergency fund becomes particularly crucial in scenarios like job loss, ensuring that you're not preoccupied with bill payments or compelled to hastily accept any available job to meet your financial needs. Generally, a 3-month reserve covering your living costs is sufficient. However, if you work in a high-risk industry with frequent layoffs, or if you're self-employed with an erratic income, extending it to 6 to 9 months is advisable. Moving on to step 6, consider your return on investment, ROI. Opinions vary on the allocation of funds between steps 6 and 7. From my perspective, the most straightforward way to enhance your income is by securing a pay raise or starting a side hustle. Achieving this requires an investment in your skill set, knowledge, and the additional value you can bring to the table. Therefore, focusing on your own ROI becomes a pivotal aspect of this financial strategy. The extra income from a side hustle or a pay raise can be strategically invested in the subsequent steps, following the order discussed. This sequencing is intentional because focusing on step 7 or 8 initially may extend the journey to wealth. Ideally, if financially feasible, consider pursuing both simultaneously. Starting early with investments places you on the advantageous side of the curve, particularly when considering the life-changing impact of compounding and exponential growth over time. Begin by ensuring full utilization of any available tax-free accounts, as outlined in Step 7. Step 8 involves acknowledging the opportunity cost associated with investing additional income. There's always a trade-off in deciding how to allocate money and considering what could have been done with it instead. Ultimately, the decision comes down to personal priorities and lifestyle choices. Some may opt to fully pay down their mortgage, achieving a stress-free, debt-free home life. This newfound financial freedom could enable part-time work, the pursuit of a side hustle, or the realization of entrepreneurial ambitions. Alternatively, it may facilitate extended travel without concerns about mortgage payments, or allow for the complete payment of a student loan, opening up opportunities for career changes. On the other hand, others may find it more beneficial to continue investing in avenues such as private equity, peer-to-peer lending, and utilizing taxable investment accounts. The key is aligning your financial choices with your goals and aspirations, carving out a path that reflects your desired lifestyle. In this step, there's no one-size-fits-all approach. It's all about tailoring the use of your additional income to match your risk tolerance, income level, and the vision you have for your life. When it comes to allocating my money on payday, I consider these factors to ensure my financial decisions align with my goals. If you're keen on starting with Step 1, check out the linked video. It covers everything from recommended spending in different categories to tools and techniques for effective financial management. If you found this video helpful, I'd appreciate it if you could subscribe. Surprisingly, over 70% of viewers on my channel haven't subscribed yet, and your support would mean a lot to me. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.